And now, Giant Sports Talk Live. Here are your hosts, Eric and Glenn.
All right, welcome to Giants Sports Talk Live. Myself, Eric, got Glenn over here. Tonight we have a special edition of Giant Sports Talk Live. We're gonna have a guest, Signatures for Soldiers. Glenn, tell us a little bit more about our guest.
Well, we've got Tim Virgilio is going to join us any moment. He'll be dropping by the program. Eric, he and I go back a few years, almost by happen chance. You know, I'm a collector. We featured a couple of my sports memorabilia favorites on the show already. Hard to believe we're into our fourth show already. And I see the chat is filling up as we speak. Guys, good to see you popping in. We got a dandy for you. So I met Tim Virgilio, we'll ask him. I think it was 4 years ago in Chicago, Illinois at a sports collectors convention. We just happened to hook up in Cleveland last week, and I said, what a great guest for our first week on the air. It's for a great fundraising effort. It's baseball related, all sports in general. And of course, you'll find out what a connection or two is to the San Francisco Giants. And we talk Giant sports 365 days a year right here in Giants Sports Talk Live. It's a great fundraiser, and I know, Eric, it'll be near and dear to your heart.
Yes, absolutely. Anything that can help veterans, man, I tell you, man, you got to get behind that. You know, the veterans need some help, because sometimes the government always isn't able to help them in a speedy time. So it's nice to see these organizations out there to help the vets, especially the disabled vets and those who, are in hard times. A lot of them are homeless out there. So any organization to go out there to help the veterans, I am right behind it.
Eric, I think it's time to learn more about Signatures for Soldiers.
Let's do it.
And now, another special guest appearance on Giant Sports Talk Live.
Hey there, Tim.
Gentlemen, how are you this evening?
We're doing good. How about you, Eric?
Doing great.
Good stuff. Tim, we appreciate you staying up past your bedtime. A young fellow like you, you're over in Florida, I take it. What is it, about 11 o'clock there?
Yes, sir. It's a good thing that I'm a bit of a night owl, so this actually works out pretty well. And and honestly, I mean, if you told me, hey Tim, let's get you up at 4 o'clock in the morning to talk Signatures for Soldiers, I'd say let's do it. So you know me, Glenn. I'll talk about this stuff all day, every day.
Tim is a big baseball fan, sports fan, and of course, this is a tremendous fundraising effort. Before we start, Eric, I should tell you, if anybody needs his beauty sleep, it is Tim.
No.
I digress. 10th anniversary of Signatures for Soldiers. And Tim, tell us about the origins of the program, how it all got started.
Yeah, so as I joke with people, I'm just the idiot that came up with the idea. So this is actually my volunteer work. I get paid nothing to do this. This is purely something that I enjoy doing in my free time, and have now pretty much filled up my free time. So back in 2014, my work takes my wife and I out of the state of North Carolina, where we had been really involved with a nonprofit that was helping homeless and disabled veterans. So I'm sitting there. It's a Thursday night football game. I remember the Raiders are playing, and I'm just watching, and I'm starting to think to myself, I'm like, how can I help this organization that I was involved with? And I'm like, yeah, what organization, what nonprofit doesn't need money? So I came up with the idea of taking my hobby of collecting autographs and merging it with, helping homeless and disabled veterans. And what I started doing was reaching out to athletes, asking them to sign some cards, knowing that I was going to turn around, sell them, and that 100% was going to go to this charity. And the original goal was to raise $500. And I had no name to it. It was just, okay, I'm going to raise $500, write the check, and then move on with the rest of my daily life. And here we are, nearly 10 years later, and we have a name to it. We have a nice little logo. I mean,
Beautiful.
yeah, and now today, we are a full-fledged registered 501c3 with the IRS, so we are a registered nonprofit. We remain all volunteer, so basically we bring in $10. That full $10 goes and helps homeless and disabled veterans.
Beautiful.
Man, that's
Well, I
fantastic.
got to ask you, Tim. So, when you launched this program, this isn't like the '70s or the '80s when I collected. When I was the only youngster hanging around a locker room or outside a player's gate, were you met with any skepticism with things like Whatnot and eBay? Here's a guy who says, "Give me all this autographed material and gear, and oh yeah, I'm gonna use it for charitable reasons." Did it
Yeah.
get met with skepticism, or did organizations and players jump right in?
Yeah, it's yeah, in today's day and age, hey, I'm doing this for charity, and all of a sudden, guys drive, somebody's driving around their brand new Porsche or something like that. Yeah, I think anytime a complete stranger approaches you and says, "Hey, this is what I'm doing, this, and I'm doing it for this purpose," I think it's only human nature just kind of have some skepticism to it. So really what I do, especially with the athletes and businesses that I ask to get behind this, I will give them, give them my elevator speech, give them my information. And I say, and now there's one thing there's one thing I ask you to do above all else: vet me. Vet what I'm doing, do your research, look into signatures for soldiers, look into Tim Virgilio, vet me 100%. And then if you have questions, ask me, because the one thing that I've really tried to do over the 10 years is just be completely transparent about, what I'm doing, how much money's been raised, where the money's going, all of that. And honestly, I mean, it's grown really just through a grassroots effort. I don't have a marketing team behind this, running ads in the Super Bowl or anything like that. So yeah, but yeah, I think, people, it's funny that you say that, because I was having just come back from the National Sports Collectors Convention in Cleveland. There is a gentleman that has been a huge supporter of ours for 3-4 years now. And the first time I met him, I introduced myself to him. He's in the business of getting and selling autographed memorabilia. And when I told him what the concept was, he said to me, he goes, "How do you make your money?" Because I explained the whole, and you talk about the skepticism, and I just thought of that. It's kind of like, when I whistle at one of my dogs and they kind of cock their head like, "Huh, what?" That was almost the response
Yeah.
I got from them. So, yeah, you definitely run into that, but I think it's, I don't know. I'm gonna be a touch arrogant when I say this. I think when people interact with me and they see my passion for this, and they see kind of, how invested I am in it, I like to think it becomes contagious.
Yeah, we're glad we could have you on the show because here at Giant Sports Talk Live 365, every day we talk predominantly the Giants and the Bay Area team that we love. Occasionally, we go over to the East Bay, talk some Oakland Athletics. We could talk about them for several shows, Eric, because they ain't going to be here much longer. So we
No.
appreciate your time joining us tonight. How do you move these materials? How do you make your money?
So before we get into that, I will ask one question: Was Will Clark's swing not the prettiest ever?
Mm.
I
Mhm.
mean, and this is
I
coming from
mean,
an East
yeah.
Coast. This is coming from an East Coast guy. I mean,
Yeah.
this is, that's
See,
just
it's a sweet swing, isn't it? I
it
mean, good
is. It
Always
grief.
is.
was. Always was.
Yeah. So,
Oh,
uh, yeah, that actually, Will Clark was one of my guys growing up. So he was a guy I would
Nice.
always, yeah, well, long before the internet, open up the morning paper and check the box score. Um,
Beautiful.
there
Beautiful.
you go.
but
Go
yeah,
Giants.
but yeah. So how do we make the money? So Really, a lot of it is through social media. I don't know. Is it still Twitter? Is it X? Is it a
Mm.
symbol? Whatever it is now. Um, that platform formerly known as Twitter. Really active on that. Have a great community there that is really supportive of what we do. So anytime we get new things in, I kind of give them the first shot at it, if you will. So I'll post it there. We've set up our own website now. There is a link that brings you to our landing page where I'm basically uploading all of our inventory, and you can actually just purchase right then and there online.
Mhm.
Some people will email me, say, "Hey, I'm looking for this particular item." And if I have something, I'll let them know. So a lot of it is done that way. However, our biggest fundraiser annually is the National Sports Collectors Convention. We've been set up there since 2018. So 6 years ago, it was in Cleveland,
Mhm.
ironically. It was in Cleveland, and there was a gentleman who he runs what's called the Case Breaking Pavilion, and he donated a 10 by 10 booth space, and I think we had like 3 8-foot tables. And at that time, I think I'd raised in 2018. I think in total we had raised about $3,500, right in that range. Over the 5 days, we made $4,200, and I was thrilled.
Wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah. So now, fast forward to the last 3 years, we have been the charity partner for the National Sports Collectors Convention. This is the first year that we weren't, because they went from Chicago that had a very large space to Cleveland that was smaller footprint. So this is the first year we didn't have a booth, and the only reason is because the guy that donates the space just simply didn't have the space for us. But
Yeah, but Tim,
annually,
didn't somebody step up to the plate? You
yeah,
ended up you were on location, if you wanna give a
yeah.
shout out to anybody during this interview.
Yeah, yeah. So kind of last year and the year before, we've been clearing like $50,000 just over the 5 days at that show. So that's really our biggest fundraiser. So
Beautiful.
even though we didn't have a booth, I still wanted to be there, and because there's a lot of people that are there that support us, and I wanted to make a point to say hello to them. But yeah, there's some guys on out in out in the internet world. They did a fundraiser for us, unbeknownst to me, and they presented me with a check there, at the national for just under $5,700. So, so I mean that was huge. That was I'm not speechless very often, but that did have me speechless. Because even now, as we sit here, in total raise since I started in November of 2014, we're up over $325,000 raised in the 10 years.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah, and even now, things like that happen, and I'm still amazed by it. I joke around quite a bit, but I'm not even important in my own head, and to have this many people get behind the cause, believe in me, believe in what this idea that I've come up with, and it's just amazing. And it, I, my wife and I talk about this quite a bit. When I started Signatures for Soldiers, it was all about raising the $500. Now it's become this community where people just kind of come for support. It's very positive energy, and I think what Signatures for Soldiers has really become is, we've become a community. We've become an advocacy for homeless and disabled veterans. I mean, I'll share some statistics a little later. And we've become an opportunity for people to get involved, because my wife and I have talked about this, that a lot of people want to get involved, they just don't know how, or
Right.
or they think that what they're able to give isn't going to be impactful enough, so they don't. And
Mm.
people hear, $325,000, and Glenn, you can attest to this. A lot of the stuff that we sell is literally $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $20. I mean, we don't have a lot of items that are, $150,000, or
Yeah.
some of the crazy numbers that you see out there in the hobby world of sports collecting. And I think so now people are like, hey, you know what, today, yeah, I can forego that fancy coffee on the way to work, and I
Mm.
can take that $5 to $10, and I can put it towards signatures for soldiers, and all of a sudden my $5 coupled with yours, all of a sudden it becomes, in a week's time, look, we've raised $1,000, and now that money is really going to make a difference in the life of a veteran. And to give you a real world example, I got a call yesterday about a veteran who is involved with a program through the VA where they work with Section 8. They have Section 8 vouchers that help homeless veterans get into affordable housing. Um, Unfortunately, that formerly homeless veteran fell behind on his electric bill, and the electric company was literally going to shut off his electric today. So I got a call from his caseworker. She let me know what was going on. I got the information I needed, turned around, made a 5-minute phone call, paid a $300 overdue bill, and now that guy has his lights on and is not being evicted today. Um,
Fantastic.
I don't
Wow.
know about you guys, but I mean, the lights that are on in my house right now, I kind of take that for granted that,
Absolutely.
that I'm going to turn them on and they're going to work. So
Absolutely.
uh,
Question for you, Tim. There's a lot of nonprofits out there that help a variety of different organizations. Tell me the story. What made you get involved with helping disabled veterans and homeless veterans? Is there a story behind that, or is that just happened to be the organization that you just wanted to help, or is you got something deeper that has affected you and why you want to help veterans?
yeah, so I've taken my work passion and coupled it with my hobby. For the last, let's see, I've been I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and my daytime job is I work with veterans and help do counseling for combat veterans. So that's kind of my passion, as far as my daytime job. And just in doing that type of work, you just you see it in real life. You
Mm,
see in real life the struggles that some of these men and women have, and um, sometimes sometimes the issues are so severe that they've become so isolated from their family, their friends,
right.
society, and they've kind of lost that connection. And then as I've done my work, and as I've done this, I, you start to do research. And I think, Glenn, I may have told you this statistic, and I'm sorry for repeating it, but I think it's really important. So, on average, 10% of our population, 10% of the U.S. population serves in the military. That
Mm,
that's the average. Of that, less than 1% serves in combat.
correct.
Now, you come out of the military, you're now a veteran status. Whether you've served in combat or not, if you've served in the military, you leave your veteran status. The national average for homelessness of the homeless population throughout the U.S., 40%, up to
40?
40%, 40% are
Kidding me.
veterans.
Wow.
Holy moly. I didn't realize it was that significant.
Who
That's
would?
eye opening.
Who would?
40% of the total homeless is, and you probably know about the state of California. We got a huge homeless problem here in the state of California. So seeing that, about half of that, is veterans, that's pretty damn staggering. And now I can understand why
Yeah.
you've taken on this work, with you in your daytime job, being a social worker and seeing the impact, on these veterans. I could totally understand why you took
Yeah.
the bull by the horns, if you will.
And it's doing this has been so gratifying. I mean, obviously
Mm,
I'm a big sports nut. I love sports. Again, I grew up collecting cards and all of that, and got into autograph collecting, and that's kind of been my hobby for 35 years. But to be able to take a piece of cardboard that somebody scribbled their name on and turned it into something that is literally life changing for some of these men and women
Good point.
is just amazing. About 2 years ago, here in Florida where I live, there's a veteran who owns a local brewery. So I connected with him and connected with the CrossFit gym. We did a fundraiser over Memorial Day weekend, and then we took that money. We purchased 20 brand new queen size beds. So the mattress, the
mm,
box spring, the bed frame, the sheets, the comforter, the pillows, all brand new, and we delivered them to formerly homeless veterans that are in that program.
mm.
Because what I've discovered, even though it's a great program, there's one problem with it. If you take me as a homeless individual and you put me in a one bedroom place, all I have in that one bedroom place are the clothes on my back and whatever I can carry. And
Gotcha.
there were literally men and women who were still 6, 9 months in a place, even though they had a roof over their head, were still sleeping on the floor.
Mm,
Again, after we finish this, I know I'm going to take it for granted that I'm going to go, 2 rooms over, and I have a bed to lay in. Um, it's my we delivered the one, and I think this is the one that's really kind of impactful for me. So we delivered the one bed. There's a Vietnam veteran, 2 tours in Vietnam, a Marine Corps veteran, 2 tours in combat in Vietnam. As we pull up, he comes out and, of course, greets us in a very Vietnam veteran way. Who the are you?
yeah.
What the do you want? Um,
Right,
and,
right, right.
so I introduced myself, said, hey, you're on our list, and he's like, oh, he's like, I'm sorry, I've had some. I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. He sees the bed that we're delivering, and all of a sudden he freezes, and he goes, "Is that for me?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "That's for you." He said, Is that really for me?" I said, "Yeah, it's really for you." And here's a Marine Corps veteran, 2 tours in
Mm.
Vietnam, and he just breaks down crying, and he looks at me and he says, "Tim," he said, "I can't tell you how many years it's been since I slept in a bed."
Mm.
And I mean, I just
Wow.
turned 50, and I've never slept anywhere but a bed.
Right, right,
So,
right.
um, so I mean, just stuff like that is just really impactful. And again, I can tell you more and more stories, but that those are just kind of some of the examples of how we utilize the money, and it's amazing. It's a piece of cardboard with somebody's
Yeah.
signature on it.
But that was able to turn someone's power back on or keep it from getting
Yeah.
shut off. You see,
Tim, how
I
many
love it.
people? How many people do you help in the run of say a calendar year?
Yeah. So that's a lot of people have asked me that. It's a little tricky to quantify, only because how we utilize the money is we do one of two things. So we will try to find other small nonprofits that help homeless and disabled veterans that their core value, their core mission aligns with ours,
Hmm.
and we'll write them a check to continue to do the work that they do. And we have our own, I have my own internal vetting process. I look at their IRS 990, which is their financial form that has to be filed every year to see how the money's spent, who's getting paid
Mm.
what, those types of things.
Good.
And then I also have conversations with them. Hey, if I cut you a check for this much, tell me how you're going to use it, and we have those types of conversations. So when we write those checks, it's hard for me to quantify, okay, a $5,000 check with this organization helps 10 guys, 10 men or women, but as far as when we're helping veterans directly, um, we probably help 300-400 veterans a year, in
Wow.
some fashion. Yeah, because the brewery that I was talking about, the Marine Corps veteran that owns the brewery here locally, the last 2 years, what we've done is we've done fundraisers where we've raised money and then used that money to to cook Thanksgiving meals for
Mm.
formerly homeless veterans and their families. First year we did it, we were able to do 100 meals. This past year when we did it, we were able to do 200 meals.
Mm.
And we are looking at doing a really big fundraiser over Veterans Day weekend that hopefully we'll be able to raise enough from that to feed 500. So,
Wow.
so every
Wow.
year it just keeps ticking up. So,
Wow.
I mean, so there's 200 right there. And then I've probably got another, good 100 or so veterans that, we've been able to help individually with different things like, paying security deposits, bringing rent or mortgage up to, up to up to speed because it was overdue. Talked about the utility bills. There's a veteran out in Utah that owns his own tree trimming business, and one day fell out of a tree. Hazard
Ooh.
of the job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, as a result, is paralyzed from chest down. But
Mm.
in order to keep his business, he has to be on site to supervise his crew. So we got contacted by another nonprofit, and they said, "Hey, we got this request. It's not really something we do. Can you help?" And as soon as they told me the story, I just said to him, I said, "How much do you need?" And basically, what this guy needed was he needed a specialized wheelchair that can go all terrain. So he can be there to supervise his crew and keep his business and continue to provide for his family. And without hesitation, I was able to write a $7,500 check, paid it in full, and he has written me an extremely nice letter to say how life changing it was, because this guy was really active before that and running marathons and things like that. So now this allows him to go out on trails and really just live a fulfilled life. So
That's
Tim
fantastic.
Virgilio
yeah,
is from
so,
Signatures for Soldiers. Appreciate you joining us, buddy. We got so many
yeah.
more questions. Signatures for Soldiers. It's in its 10th year. Uh, so many. I mean, you just had one there. Very, very emotional. You must get emotional when you look at so many other
Yeah.
stories you could tell us. I was moved there, Eric. I don't know about you. When you've got a
Absolutely.
grizzled
Yeah.
veteran like that who is
Yeah, I know. I mean, unfortunately, my dad has already passed, but he was a Vietnam vet, and I know exactly what he's talking about.
yeah.
It's just different because, the Vietnam vets, when they came back home, unfortunately, it was an unpopular war. They took it out against the soldier rather than the people who sent those soldiers there. So there's a lot of that, and I can understand some of the the gruffness, if you will, when you got strangers rolling up on you, wondering what's going on.
Absolutely.
I got something to ask here. We talked a lot about the soldiers. Let's talk about the other part of this, the signatures. Who is like let's stick with San Francisco Giants. Who is the biggest San Francisco Giant contributor to Signatures for Soldiers?
I know who that is, because that was why Timmy and I actually kind of hooked
Exactly.
up with it about 4 or 5 years ago. Bernice was
Yeah,
finding
that's
signatures and scouring the table, and you happened to find her, I believe, one signature that was a holdover that didn't get sold, and he's a very popular guy.
Yeah. So, over the years, obviously, we've been able to really make some nice contacts. With my board of directors, those guys are literally all over the country. Um, and I'm a big University of North Carolina fan, so I will freely admit
Oh, well,
that.
there we go.
And this gentleman that I'm about to talk about, had he not been a first round pick by the San Francisco Giants, had committed to play baseball at University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. So I'm a
Mixed
little
emotions.
bitter. I'm a little bitter I'm a little bitter at the Giants for that, but that's okay. No, Madison Baumgartner, believe it or not, really, really supportive. He and his wife found out about Signatures for Soldiers, and um, basically, the ask was, what can we do? Hey, can you sign a handful of cards, and this is what we're going to do with them. And all of a sudden we get a package that shows up that has several signed baseballs, has a
Wow.
jersey. Yeah, it has a jersey that they purchased and he signed, along with a whole bunch of extra cards. And it's almost become an annual thing. Right around that May-June timeframe. Stuff shows up from Madison and his wife, and they're they're off enjoying their life, but they're still aware and cognizant
That's awesome.
And you know what, Eric?
this
Tim,
tiny
you told me.
organization.
Tim, didn't you tell me that he's a prime example where Madison didn't just get involved and he gave you some autographs to benefit the cause, if you will. But there's been several times. Wasn't there a show about 2 years ago? Maybe it was a Chicago show, and you said uh, they had to pay out of their own pocket. They couriered or purelated you
Yeah,
package in time for
yeah,
the national. Like they're not
yeah,
just people who give you stuff and help your cause, but they go above and beyond, and they make this a priority in their life.
yeah, yeah. So a couple of years ago, you're right. A couple of years ago, we were having an auction that coincided with the National Sports Collectors Convention. Because it helps to get a lot of eyeballs on it. And the Baumgartners had committed to getting us some stuff, and just life happens, and we find out that they had asked somebody to mail the package for them, and it was still sitting on the table.
Oh no.
So this is the week, like I'm literally like on the road driving to Chicago, and hey, how can we get this to you? I'm like, this is the hotel I'll be staying at, and pretty much they out of their own pocket overnighted it, and it got there in time for us to be able to use some of the items for the auction, as well as then sell some of the items at our booth. So yeah, it's amazing. It really is, just to see how connected some of these athletes get. I tell people all the time, again, being an avid sports fan, we watch these men and women, and they are the absolute top 1% of their profession. And to find out that they're even better human beings than they are athletes
Mm.
is really special. A gentleman who was a brief Giant, and is Mitch Haninger.
Oh yeah,
He
yeah.
yeah, he's now back with the Mariners. I was able to connect with him several years ago, and I mean, you want to talk about a fantastic guy. I mean, this guy, Glenn, to your point, going above and beyond. 3 years ago, season ends. He reaches out to me. He says, "Hey Tim, I'm cleaning out my locker." He's like, "Wouldn't my cleats help?" And
Oh,
I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they would. so so he said, okay. He's like, let me see what I have here at the stadium. Let me see what I have at home. And I don't know, a week or so later, this big box shows up, and I start pulling out 7 pairs of cleats. And I'm looking at them. I'm like, these aren't just normal issue cleats. I mean, these were, one pair of cleats were the cleats that he wore when he was with the MLB All Stars to play the Japan over in Japan. One pair,
wow.
yeah, one pair was from Players Weekend. One pair was from Turn Back the Clock weekend. I mean, like, all of them could be identified to very specific things. And you know, so last year, the season ends. I'm just going about my business. I get a note from him. Hey, box is on the way. Sure enough, open it up. There's another half dozen pairs of cleats. I
Wow.
live, yeah, I live here in St. Petersburg, Florida, which, if you're not familiar, is home of the Tampa Bay Rays. So I literally
Mhm.
live 15 minutes from the stadium. So when the Mariners were in town this year, I was able to meet up with Mitch, and we talked, and he's like, I have a box for you back at the clubhouse. He's like, when I get back to Seattle, I'll get it out to you. Here, he had a box at his locker that he was putting his cleats in, and a couple of his teammates came by and were like, "Hey, what's that?" And he explained it to them. So they started dropping their cleats in. So I get, so like 3 weeks after he was here, I get a box and again open it up, and there's probably 7, 8, 10 pair of cleats, not only from Mitch but from J.P. Crawford, from Mitch Garver. Mitch Garver, actually, his
Man.
cleats are. Yeah, Mitch Garver's cleats are actually Mother's Day and Memorial Day cleats.
And
So
they look good, don't they?
you
The
know,
special cleats, they
oh
look
man,
great.
they look they look great. Yeah, and
Yeah.
actually, Heritage Auctions is a really well known auction house based
Yeah.
out of Dallas, Texas. Starting on, let me look at the date. I want to say it's August 18th. Let's see.
Oh, Heritage
Oh,
is
come on.
Eric. If you're not familiar, Heritage is
Yes,
like the
starting on
elite.
August 18th. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Heritage is the company that currently has the jersey worn by Babe Ruth with his famous called shot
Ooh, the
in
called
that was in
shot.
Wrigley Field.
Wrigley, yeah. Oh my.
That was
See,
undisputed.
I
Yeah,
was bagging on Haniger as a Giant. Now, man, now you make me feel bad because the guy's a great human being. And
uh,
usually when we
he is.
criticize players,
Yeah,
we're not criticizing them, as a person, just to play. You know how it is with baseball, any sport.
yeah,
You criticize them
absolutely.
because of
Yeah,
their ability rather than who they are as a person. So yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sort of like
yeah. But
Major League, right?
starting
The end of the Major League, the end of the movie, and they're cheering the guys on that they tear them apart the whole
Yeah.
movie, right? You know,
exactly. Yeah,
wow,
but
this is a great show,
starting
Eric. Great show.
August 18th through September 1. Yeah. Yeah, August 18th through September 1, on Heritage website, they're actually going to have an auction where 100% of the sales for those items are going to come back to us. And those those two pairs of cleats that I just talked about from Mitch Carver, those will actually be up for auction.
Nice.
Awesome.
Oh, and a lot of
Man.
eyeballs on something like that too. That puts you guys front and center in auction like that.
Is there ever a piece of collector memorabilia that you go, do I really want to sell this?
Just about
In
just about
collector,
every day. Just yeah,
You're just like looking
just
at it
about
like,
every day.
oh, what is
Yeah,
the
it's
what is the
yeah,
what is the coolest piece of merchandise that you've been able to receive?
good question, Eric.
Yeah, so the cleats have been really cool to
Yeah.
get. Those have been really cool. But I'm gonna totally switch gears and go the hockey route because I think
Oh,
this
okay.
was pretty. Yeah,
I got
I think this was pretty cool. So, uh, so TJ Yoshi, he plays for the Capitals. Did play for the Blues, now playing for the Capitals. If the name sounds familiar, he played for Team USA hockey and um, scored a winning goal. And what really impressed me about this guy was the post game interview after that game, and one of the reporters called him a hero. What's it like to be a hero? And
Mm.
and I'm paraphrasing. And he said, look, he said, I'm no hero. He said, the men and women who put on the uniform every day to protect our country, those are the
Mm.
heroes.
How can you not
And
love
Wow.
so this is yeah, so this is many years ago. I'm like, oh, that guy's awesome. I love him. So fast forward a couple of years, and I was able to get in touch with him, and he said, hey, he's like, give me your address, I'll send you something. And I get a call from my wife. I hadn't been home yet. I'm on the way home. She's like, yeah, so there's a giant bag here that has capitals all over it. I'm assuming this is for you. And here he had sent several hockey pucks that he signed and sent one of his hockey sticks that he signed. So
Wow.
that was that was something that was really cool. I was like, you know, and if you watch hockey, you know, you think they're wood sticks and all that. Man, that thing was light as a feather, and it was, but it was,
Carbon
Graphic.
fiber, right?
yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
So every now and again, I'll get things like that. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say anything.
We might have lost him.
Oh,
So
did we lose
Internet.
Tim?
You there, Tim? His internet might be
Yeah.
acting up. Well, there he is.
Oh,
Nope.
we got him back. There he is.
Yeah, we got him back. We got him
There he
back.
is.
There you are. We lagged out
impressive,
just
but
a little bit.
There we go.
yeah, there I am. Sorry. Yeah, but yeah,
No
just
problem.
some really great stuff. But yeah, it's I mean, I get a lot of really cool items. You know, there's artists, sports artists that I've gotten pieces from that have been really cool. There's actually I have 3 of those that are going to be up in the Heritage auction. One is a Cal Ripken piece, one is a Jim Tomei piece, and the other one's a Brian Urlacher piece. So yeah, yeah, definitely. I definitely get stuff that I'm like, let me just hold on to this for a day or two. And so,
Have you ever got any signatures from anything other than
I was going to ask
sports?
that. Good
Yeah.
question, Eric. Good question.
Because it's signatures, it's not sports signatures, it's
Yeah,
just signatures.
signatures. Movie stars, actors, you know, famous
yeah,
politicians, something like that.
yeah. So, yeah. Actually, let me pull this out because you guys were talking about
we go.
Major
it's show,
League.
Eric, it's show and tell time.
I love show and tell time.
Tim's doing a great job.
Show and
Anybody out
tell,
there,
yeah.
we're
Yeah,
glad to
that's-
support this. This is
Yeah,
great.
the reason I have my background blurred is because I'm in the Signatures for Soldiers headquarters, and it's an absolute mess behind me. But yeah, so
Oh, look who it is. The Wild Thing.
can we
Speaking
hold
of the
on,
movie,
let me take the blur off.
That is
Yes.
awesome.
Yep. So yeah, Charlie Sheen. Yeah. So
How about that?
there we go. Yeah.
there he
That
is.
is cool, man.
So yeah. So yeah. So I get different things like that. So yeah.
That
So
is cool,
yeah.
man.
Originally,
That's
it
cool.
started off with just baseball autographs because I'm a baseball freak. But now it's just anything that'll raise $1.
That's awesome.
Sure.
Who's your team? Who's your baseball team?
Growing up, I grew up in Connecticut, so I'm a Mets fan
Okay.
by birth. But doing this now I actually root for players. Like I root for players and their team. So it's every day
Nice.
it's like okay, because it for example, the bench coach for the Rays is now the manager for the Royals. And
They're having a good year.
Coach Q used to live in my neighborhood, so I've gotten to know him. So I'm kind of a Royals fan because of Coach Q.
Nice.
So it's
Gotcha.
just
Fair
those
enough.
types of things.
They got a great
Yeah.
young team, man.
Oh
They
my
got a
God,
great young
yeah.
team.
So like I follow them pretty closely. I follow the Orioles pretty closely because those players and
Speaking
folks
of
in that
which,
organization have been really really supportive.
news just broke. Kobe Mayo just got the call up for the Orioles. So they're bringing
Nice.
up another young guy. Yep. Speaking of the Orioles.
Yeah. So Jackson Holiday the other day, and now
Yep.
Kobe Mayo.
They're going to be
Yeah,
formidable, man. Yeah.
Their system is just they've done
Top
a great
notch.
job developing talent, and so.
Hey,
but,
Tim, you want to
yeah.
promote the? Oh, you know what? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Tim. We got a bit of a delay in our feed from Florida over here. Sorry about that. We sometimes jump on top of you, Eric and I. But somebody in the chat a few minutes ago had asked, and we've been doing this, but you want to give a shout out to your webpage, and they wanted to know if on the website you have any social media angles, if you have the X and the Facebook and that kind of thing.
How about this? I could bring it up for you guys. There we go.
There you go. Yeah. So the website is signatures, the number 4 soldiers.com. and on there, as you can see, our mission and how we help, our history. The multimedia has, I need to do some updating, but basically has articles that have been written about signatures for soldiers over the years. The blog is basically just kind of, I usually send out like a monthly update to folks that sign up via email. So we usually just post that on there so people can see. But yeah,
Have the
and then if you hit the
inventory.
inventory, yep, that brings you to a landing page. Again, I'm working on getting all of that, all of our inventory up there. So, but yeah, then social media, we're on Facebook, Twitter, or formerly known as Twitter, and
Yeah.
and also on Instagram. So yeah, so if you just search honestly, if you Google
That.
signatures for soldiers, that all comes up. So
Look at
Yep.
that. Look at
There you
that.
go. You can see everything he's got, and you just hit him. Like if it
Yep.
says just listed, hit just listed, and it gives you a bigger breakdown.
Nice.
Rob
and
Dibble. Look at Rob Dibble, man. That guy was a beast.
yeah, he's been another big supporter. So yeah, I mean, I could give you story after story on some of these guys. It's great.
Hey,
Wow.
Tim, I got a question. I meant to ask this earlier, and I mean it's perfect opportunity now. You talked about all these, like I call them grizzled veterans. You touch people. You're touching, I think, Eric and I tonight. This is great.
Absolutely.
Having
This
Tim
is
on.
awesome.
Tim, is there a player that supports this program that has an uncle or a grandfather or someone that indirectly maybe not the individual, but they support the program based on their family's history?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Uh, the first name that kind of comes to mind that I can think of is Darren Holmes. So he pitched for the Rockies and I think the Dodgers. But and he's now a coach. I forget where he's at now, but he was with the Orioles, and he's somewhere else now. But in talking with him, he told me about his family history. His dad served, his uncle served, his grandfather served, and at a high school, he was going. He basically he was ready that Monday to go into the military, and the Wednesday before he gets drafted in the Major League Baseball draft. So he's like, all right, he's like, I'll try this baseball thing, see what happens. If not, then I'll join the military. So yeah, so it's funny, and it's not just the athletes. It's what I've discovered is once you start talking to people about this, it's amazing how many people, if they're not a veteran themselves, a loved one on some level has served. My father, my mother, my brother, my sister, my aunt, my uncle, my best friend, the guy I grew up next door to. It just seems like everybody is able to really make that emotional connection, and it's yeah, again, I've throughout sports, definitely have, whether it's been players or people who work for the teams, that have found out about what we're doing. A lot of times it's exactly that. It's, hey, I want to help because I have someone in my life who served, and I want to do it as a as a tribute to them.
Pat Tillman died 2004, a football player who
Gave up his professional.
gave up the career, went to play football. You get any good feedback from either the National Football League or any of the fledgling leagues, CFL or Arena Ball? Anybody in football in general who steps up to the plate?
Football wise, oh God, yeah. Man, I'm just trying to think.
I know we're a Giants channel, but this is fascinating. I want to learn more about. I actually want to learn about the players.
It's about this down here, right? It's about signatures for soldiers.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely some former players like Jim Everett, who played for the Rams, quarterback for the Rams.
We got a chat member who absolutely loves Jim Everett. Matter of fact, he named himself Jim Everett the Great. Yeah. So
there you go. There you go. So yeah. So in my eyes,
he's actually
Jim
in the
Everett
chat right now.
Great.
Yeah, he's here now, right now. Oh my.
In my eyes, Jim Everett is a great man for his support. Yeah, but yeah, definitely. It's. I mean, I literally have thousands of items that are signed, and it's yeah, sometimes it's hard, when you put me on the spot like that. Okay, name this guy. I'm gonna forget somebody. But yeah, like Jamal Anderson, who running back for the Falcons. He's been
Falcons.
really
Yep.
supportive. Yeah.
Right on.
God, yeah, there's just kind of been player after player. It's really amazing. I'm
Well,
trying
we're
to
running
think of
short
some.
on time. Eric, you got
Yeah.
anything else you want to ask before we
Let's see. I'm guessing, do you stay primarily on the East Coast, or do you go all over is it countrywide that you do show? Do you do shows? Is that how you get your stuff out, or is it primarily through your website?
Yeah, it's primarily through the website. I
Okay.
will do some shows here locally in Florida. The only national show that I do is the National Sports Collectors
Gotcha.
Convention. Because, yeah, if I were to travel throughout the country doing shows, I mean, this would be more than a full-time job.
Right. That makes sense.
But yeah, but as I talked about, just because I'm here in Florida doesn't mean that I won't help a veteran in San Francisco.
Fair enough.
I mean, if he or she comes to my attention, needs the help, done. I don't care where
That's
they are.
awesome.
They could be on the moon for all I care if they needed help. So
Would you
That's
come back
awesome.
on the show? Going to join us again?
yeah, why not?
Yeah,
See,
absolutely.
now you guys have me wired. Now I'm going to be up until 11 o'clock your time.
That
So
happens to us every night. Oh, we know
yeah,
all about that.
yeah. So now, I'll tell my wife. I'll be like, no, it's still not my bedtime. It's not even 11 o'clock on the left coast. So
Glad you could join us, buddy. Glad you could be with us tonight on just our fourth night. We've had a couple of guests already join us during the week, but already this
and
is a dandy, Eric.
one
I love this show.
yeah.
100%.
One thing that I do want to do, and Glenn will touch base with this. So, since this is to keep it Giants related, I'm going to make a donation to the show for you guys to then give
Oh,
away to one of your viewers. So this is a card. There we go. Signed by Madison Baumgartner. It pictures the 7th game of the 2014 World Series.
oh, there we go. Holy
beauty.
crap.
What
That's
a
awesome,
memorable game.
man.
Eric and I were just talking about the history of baseball
Yesterday.
last night, and
We were just talking about that. Yep.
what a great collection.
So Glenn, I'll get this in the mail to you, and hopefully on a future show you guys can bless one of your viewers
Absolutely.
with it. And so,
well, Eric, it may not be much. You talked about it earlier in the show, Eric, or Tim. May not be much. I think we'll find a way to use that and a couple other items we have to benefit you.
Absolutely, 100%.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
Yes.
that. Just being able to come on and talk about this and get in front of folks that I normally wouldn't get in front of. Sometimes the help isn't just the monetary value. Again, I talked about this. This has been a very grassroots effort. This right here goes a long way because hopefully, there's a viewer that sees this and they go, "Yep, I want to get involved," and that's one more person today that wasn't involved yesterday. And together, we really are doing life-changing work together.
Oh, indeed.
So it's
indeed. We have some nights we'll have a few. It'll look like, oh, you got just a few viewers on, but we're also on what, Eric? We're on the X. We're on Facebook. Yep. So our actual show broadcasts on different platforms. Yep. So when you add them all up, it goes a long way to having a great viewership. And I know they're going to be glad that we had you on the show. I can't speak for Eric. He does a show, Tim, called Military History Channel. He's going to have a show coming up later tonight. Maybe Eric would like to have you on one of his shows coming up in the future.
Oh, yeah. It's more, it's not sports related. It's more about military history. But yeah, absolutely. You're more than welcome to come on.
Yeah, we've had some really prominent military figures who have signed stuff for us. One of
Mm.
them being Herschel Woody Williams.
Whoa,
And it
Hershey, what do you? Oh, God bless his soul. He just passed away last year. He was the last
did
living World War II Medal of Honor recipient.
final. Yeah.
I
Yeah, he
told
was
you,
a
Yeah.
Tim.
final.
I told you,
Oh,
Eric
he's
knows his stuff.
fantastic, man.
Eric
You
But
knows
know,
his
I'll
stuff.
tell you what.
yeah.
Yeah, I know you guys got to go, but I'll just really summarize for those of you that don't know Herschel Woody Williams' story. So
Unbelievable.
he was in the army, landed on Iwo Jima. He was one of three guys
Mhm.
that used a flamethrower. And what they used the flamethrower for on Iwo Jima was they were clearing out what are known as pillboxes. So basically, they were
Correct.
these cement bunkers that literally with 6 foot thick walls and everything. So they would have to go around and clear out the pillboxes so the U.S. military could continue moving forward. The first day that they land, the two other gentlemen who were
With
flamethrower
him.
technicians get killed. So
Mhm.
now it's just Mr. Williams, and for the next I think it was like 5 or 7 days continuously, he would go out, clear out pillboxes, come back, refill his tank, and go back out, and he just did that continuously. Just yeah, I mean, just an amazing story. I mean, when they talk
It
about that
is.
being the greatest generation.
Oh, absolutely. And when you hear him talk, he speaks highly of the men who were with him in that operation and taking out all the pillboxes. And there was a couple of guys that lost their lives, and
Yep.
he speaks highly of them because if it wasn't for them, he wouldn't be here. Yeah, he was able to do the heroic action, but it took his teammates, his fellow Marines, to be able to get that mission done. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. I love listening to Woody Williams when he speaks. He had a great, I don't know if you follow American Battlefield Trust. They have a great YouTube, but they
Okay.
had where they visit all the different Civil War, Revolutionary War of 1812 sites. But they had him on a special preview where they were talking about certain battles and, relaying, certain Medal of Honor recipients during the Civil War, and then what maybe he did also during World War II. And it was absolutely fantastic. But yeah, that is great that you actually got a signature from Woody Williams. That's fantastic.
Eric, I
Wow.
think it'd be a great show for the History Channel. And
Yes.
Tim, we hope you'll take time to come back. Maybe we can get you back on soon too.
Yeah,
There's so much
absolutely.
more to
And
talk about.
yeah, gentlemen, I thank you so much for this opportunity. Like I said, I can talk all day about it, but it's just to have this level of support is really humbling. Because, like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm not even important in my own head, let alone that you guys think enough of me and of Signatures for Soldiers to bring me on and be able to talk about this and spread the word. I'm just truly moved by it. So thank you.
We
You bet,
appreciate
Tim.
you. We'll be in
Great
touch,
meeting you.
buddy. We'll be in touch. Let's keep close, and we'll get you on again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, gentlemen.
Take care, Tim.
Night, buddy. Good night.
All right, there
Eric, what a
was
great
Tim.
guest, huh?
Man,
What
I
a great guy.
love that.
And you know what? I had a chance to meet him. There's so much we could have talked about. I got a chance to meet him at a national convention years ago, and Bernice was actually supporting the program. I bought a book actually. He goes, maybe you'd be interested in this hockey guy, and he had a nice Chicago Blackhawks history of book. Wasn't even open, but it was classic. It had to be from like 40 years ago. And I brought
Wow.
that home. I've got it in the other room. And it's one of those books you know, when you have something really special to you. And I bought it from Tim, supported the program. And, you turn the pages so gently and lightly. And yeah, it's kind of a prized possession in my collection. Bernice, big Madison Bumgarner fan. In fact, I know for a fact that she has been able to purchase some cards. And she was able to purchase a ball cap that was signed by Madison Bumgarner. And when you see all the stuff, especially at a national, when he's set up with all of those tables, you see the depth of what they have available.
I
and
bet.
that heritage auction, that's nothing to sneeze about. That's going to be awesome. I'm going to find out details on the heritage auction. Because,
there you go.
They're going to have some great the cleats, the sticks. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Hey, that national convention, is that in different cities? every year? Is that how that works?
Yeah, usually what they do, because that is one of my things that people like to save up their money and go to Dominican to the beach or Mexico poolside. I know Tim loves being there in the first place, but my trip every year. What do you do for excitement? What is your big trip every year? And I'm gonna go 5 days at the National. It's like going to a museum. Eric, I showed you some of the pictures.
Right.
Remember
Is it always like in the Midwest, or does it go to East Coast?
Chicago every second year, and then they move it around. This year, Cleveland was they had it in a smaller venue, and he didn't get much into it there. I was hoping he would, but Tim was sort of cast aside, didn't get his table this year, and somebody stepped up, and he had a spot, but it was kind of out in the wings, if you will, down in the dungeon. But we were able to find him. We talked briefly at the beginning of the show, and I think it was maybe on Saturday afternoon, and I went, hey, why don't you come on the show? A brand new fledgling little show. We're not much of a show yet, but sure would be nice to get you on. I'm glad he very moving stories, Eric. I almost shed a tear there when he's talking about, some
of Vietnam veteran. Yeah, absolutely.
And how the players step up. And you know what? Well, there's prime example.
Yes.
What have you and I, we haven't talked much about, or in a positive way, about Mitch Haniger. Well, that's changed for me now.
Yeah, absolutely. When you start hearing stories like that, it kind of makes you go, "Hey, you know what? You know what I mean." When you're talking about baseball,
we're running overtime. Before we go, quickly, if we can, because we didn't have Giants baseball tonight, and we got to wrap up real quick here. You want to take a look at tonight's scoreboard? It was very, very abbreviated, Eric.
It was not a whole lot going on. And real quick, before we even get to that, they called up Encarnacion.
I knew it. I told you. The guy was a beast at the plate, batting about 345 or so.
I don't know what their corresponding move was. Maybe someone in the chat knows, but let me go ahead and bring up the out-of-town scoreboard. There wasn't a whole lot. Like you said, it was a small slate today.
Yeah, travel day in Major League Baseball today.
Yep. All right. Let me bring this up. Ready to go.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot here, Eric.
No worries. It's all good. Let's get to it.
And now, a Giant Sports Talk Live scoreboard update.
All right, here we go. The very first one right out the rip here. They're in top of the 10th. Rockies leading the Angels 5-4. Let's see if the Angels can pull that out. We'll see.
Jose Ramirez, a 2-run shot. The Guardians playing well, and they beat the Orioles 10-3.
What
a great series that is.
10-3. Exactly. That's an important series. Well, it's not interdivisional, but they're both they're the top dog in their respective division. Royals beat the Tigers 7-1. That's kind of not a surprise. But Vinny Pasquantino clubbers his second home run.
Look at not much of a surprise tonight in Atlanta, was it? The Braves pick up their 59th win, beat Florida Marlins 4-2.
And the last one on the docket, Cubs beat the Cardinals. That's a big rivalry in the Midwest, the Cubs and Cardinals. Cubs come away with the win 5-4. Looks like look at that in the little byline there. Cubs score 3 in the 9th to walk it off. So that's the out-of-town scoreboard, guys.
Who was that in the who walked it off? It looked like Bellinger.
It doesn't. I can't see who it is. No, it's not Bellinger. I don't know who that is.
Oh, it wasn't? I thought he'd just come back from injury. I thought, what a great story that would have been. Tomorrow night, we'll be on after the San Francisco Giants opener of the weekend series with Cincinnati. Kyle Harrison, he's back on the hill looking for his 7th win of the year. It's going to be a great series. They play, they have a tough time in Cincinnati, Eric. You and I are expecting a big weekend from L.A. De La Cruz. Let's see if the Giants can actually get the bats going, because the pitching has not been an issue lately. We saw that it's Webb last night. Less than 2 hours to complete the game. Logan Webb, his second career shutout. He got the ice bath afterwards. I was there on a cold night.
Hey, Glenn, we got the chat stepping up. Look at this. For every 100 subs this channel gets, up to the first 500 subs, I'll make a $100 donation to soldiers or signatures for soldiers. It'll be a great way to celebrate this channel's milestones. Abraham, dude, that is fantastic, man. Look at that.
He just signed off, but he was in the green room briefly, but I'll pass that along.
Pass that along to Tim, please. That is, Ibrahim, thank you for stepping up. That's fantastic. It's a great organization. I just heard about it just recently when mentioned. Oh, that's just absolutely awesome, man.
77 subs. Show
We're getting
4.
there. We're getting there.
We're climbing the hill, Eric, and it's thanks to our great viewers, guys who not only tune in, but I said to you last night, I told my wife, I said, it's like we're cultivating a family. You got Ibrahim. I saw some of our old D-Shot has joined us. D-Shot has jumped on board in a big ways here quite a bit.
Jim Everett's always here.
Yeah.
Michael, I see you, Michael. Thanks for joining, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we don't like leaving people out, but there's so many. Hey, Michael Rogers in
Michael's
tonight.
over here. Robert Duville, he's been a dedicated viewer. Of course, Will B. Saw Ramali out there. I think I saw Rob C. was out there. Let's see, who else am I missing? That's kind of it. Now, Mark Graves. I saw Mark Graves is in here as well.
Yeah, Mark was there. We've had some old familiar faces that some of them are traveling right now. I know senior softball games is out on the East Coast.
Yeah, he's in Chicago. He's on his way back home. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if he was at the Chicago game. He saw some great ball this week too.
Yeah. Look, I mean, goodness, look at this. We got some pictures here of his son, Charlie. Got a picture with JD Davis when he was down there in Fenway. Also got a bat from JD Davis while he was down there.
Sweet.
So yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Sweet. So we're going to be on tomorrow night. Please, if you like and subscribe, pass along the name of the channel, Giant Sports Talk Live. If you've got a friend who loves the Giants like we do, if you love baseball in general, we'll be recapping the complete scoreboard again tomorrow night. We'll talk about Giants baseball. We're opening up that series in Cincy. Let's see if we can turn things around. See
if we can make some headway. Exactly.
Make 500.
It's a team that's competing. That's a team that you're competing with a wild card. So you better make some hay. If you don't,
showtime tomorrow night.
Tomorrow we'll do regular time. We should be 8:00 because you said it's like a 4 o'clock-ish start time. So we should be able to come on at 8:00 our normal time.
Guys, we'll be on at 8. You can join my old pal Eric, and I'll be here. So we'll see you tomorrow night. My special thanks to Tim Virgilio. He's the founder, I guess you would call him the CEO of Signatures for Soldiers. Eric, you had some great questions for me. It's some great answers. I learned so much. And I'll tell you what, out of all that, I've learned so much about the program. And I gotta admit, I have a different attitude towards some players now.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Hey, guys, we're getting ready to close it down. Go over to Military History Chronicles. I'm going to start it here in about 10 minutes. And we'll talk about what's going on in the world today. I saw some people talking about the news. We had some hostages released. There was a hostage swap, or I should say prisoner swap, not hostage. Wow, whatever. Prisoner swap happening where some Americans are able to return home. The Wall Street Journal journalist, Gershkovich, I think is his name, Gershkovich, something like that. He was able to be released from Russia, and now he's back home. So, yeah, we'll get into all the top news.
You got a few minutes to think about that and figure out what those names are. I'm glad I don't have to
touch I know. I suck with
Military History Channel. Go over and join Eric for that. You will leave entertained as well as very much educated. I believe, will be your special guest once again, your co-host.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I will join you over there.
And I will see you in the chat.
Yeah.
There
see
we
you more
go.
night, Eric. See you more night, guys.
See you. Woo!
You've been watching Giant Sports Talk Live with Eric and Glenn, a Northern Lights Entertainment Broadcasting production.